Sometimes the exhaustion we feel is not from doing too much, but from being too little of ourselves. And this line is inspired by Rumi. And with that, I welcome you to Divine Decode. I am Pragya, and today we are opening a conversation that so many people live through quietly. The kind of burnout that does not just drain your energy, but slowly pulls you away from who you truly are. Not the burnout that comes from the deadlines, but the burnout that comes from disconnect, from your body, from your emotions, from your clarity, and from your deeper sense of meaning. Our guest today, Gabriella, she knows that this path is actually very intimate and it's very personal to each one of us. And through her journey, we'll learn what and how is this framework shaped. And she's also shaped Phoenix medicine and her work with the four bodies. It reminds us that healing is not about becoming stronger, it's about becoming whole again. So let's step into a conversation that is not about productivity or stress, but about coming home to yourself. And I actually am really grateful, Gabriella, for hosting you today. And it's a pleasure. And I'm truly looking forward to this conversation.
Likewise, yes, I'm excited to be here. Burnout is real, and if you break it down step by step, uh, it's easy to come back to wholeness.
That's actually true. And to start with, most people only they recognize burnout when life starts feeling out of rhythm, right? And that is somehow not the right framework, I feel, or it just has something different with it. So, what was the moment you realized that you were not just tired, you were drifting away from yourself? And that is when you actually realized that you have to actually work on that. And yes, what was your experience and how was your realization?
Yeah. So, burnout for me, it showed up in multiple areas and multiple periods of my life. And I think that stems from a lack of self love and also not knowing how to properly take care of yourself. Um, we overextend, we are we people please, our values are tied to how much we produce. And that's where really the mindset shift happens, and where you realize that everything that you've been doing is actually in your detriment, and it's not really supporting your life, your energy source, and your connection to yourself. So for me, it was, early on, um, in my career where I just collapsed, right? There was no other way around it. I was self-isolating and it's just depleted. All I wanted to do is, veg out and watch TV and distract myself with, food, shopping, all of those things.
Thank you for that. And I truly feel that because a lot of us we misunderstand it. We just think of burnout as its literal definition, that you just are working, you're exhausted, and that is all it is. And I'm sure it has an emotional side of it. And thank you for saying that too. So many people, they rest their body, but they feel emotionally empty inside, right? And or they work on their mindset, but they still feel spiritually lost. So there is always some void, right? So why does it only shift when all four bodies they reconnect? And I want to know your perspective through it. And yes, what is four bodies? Just let us know.
So there's the four bodies, right? The spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. And they're all interconnected. That's why, like, if people only meditate, or let's say they only work out and they focus on one of the bodies, if they don't pay attention and nourish the other bodies, they're still going to feel out of balance. And there's a trickle up and trickle down effect. So let's say that you're meditating and you are working out, and then that you're eating junk food and you expose your mind to all the negativity that's out there in the world. You constantly compare yourself with other women or men, and you have these negative patterns and negative self loops that you say to yourself. Obviously, you're going to be out of balance. And the importance of having harmony and wholeness across all four bodies is pivotal now more than ever. And also, between the ages of 0 to 7, we create our beliefs based on what we experience. And when that happens, we take those beliefs at 100% and then we carry them through our lives. And so if we don't clean out our mental programming, right, those beliefs, we're going to perpetuate and have the same experiences over and over again in our life, even though, we have really positive goals in the conscious mind, on the conscious level. We're dragging out those beliefs and we're, manifesting them over and over again.
Hmm. That is also true. So yes, people pleasing, it often starts quietly, right? And automatically it becomes a habit. So what was the first moment you realized that your yes was costing you too much and there has to be some boundary, and people pleasing is not something that would work in your journey of healing? So what was it for you and when did you realize that?
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad passed away when I was younger. And so I kind of shifted into being a caretaker for my mom, not, not financially, but emotionally. And just, I was trying to have some sort of control in my life to make sure that she was taken care of, etc. And that kind of transpired throughout my life where, if there was a conflict between my friends, I would resolve it and make sure that whatever the cause of conflict was taken care of. And that was really to my detriment because what happened was I started building resentment, and I started becoming passive aggressive and really just not being happy. I turned off my intuition and my connection to spirit, for a big part of my life, where even though my body and my soul was screaming, no, I don't want to do this, I overrode it. And um, that in turn, like, pulled out all the energy that I had because I was giving my power away to circumstances and people instead of taking responsibility of my life and the life that I wanted to create.
I love that framework. And also it's very powerful when we, finally notice the small ways we disappear from ourselves. And that brings a change. So when someone they begin to heal all four bodies, what does freedom actually feel like then?
It feels like bliss, but nothing, you can't build it overnight. You have to start with small steps. And, once you build a step for 21 days, 40 days, then you move on and you add another step. Transformation doesn't happen in one step, it happens in 5,000 steps. And once that you reach 5,001, that's when you really feel the harmony and the balance across the four bodies. Um, and it depends for everyone. It's different, right? Some people may have a really strong connection with their spiritual body, while others have it with their physical. What I find a lot with my clients and people in general is their emotional body that they're very disconnected from and not really in tune with, because we're taught as a society to suppress emotions, to suppress our feelings. Getting angry is looked upon and it's something negative. And there is a reason if to being angry and expressing it in a constructive way, because then you're letting it out and then it passes, the emotion passes and it doesn't get stored into your body, into your energetic body, physical body, and then you move on. And then with the mental, we're our toughest critics, and the negative self-talk is real. And a lot of people don't realize that they're just telling themselves, I'm not enough, I'm never going to be enough. I have to produce, 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 or otherwise no one's going to love me. And that is especially detrimental to all the bodies because, like I said, there's a trickle down and trickle up effect. So you're altering your harmony, if you will. And that's where you have disharmony, dis-ease, and imbalances that people are experiencing.
That is so true. And I totally agree to this, because a lot of times when we are in our minds saying that, okay, I'm not enough and I won't be able to do this, we are somehow manifesting that too. And when that happens, we then are in a position where we don't understand that, okay, where did I go wrong? But likewise, you were anyways manifesting it unconsciously or subconsciously in your mind, and that is what has happened, and we don't realize that often.
Oh,
And we often try to think our way out of burnout, and it might be through reading, analyzing, understanding. But why does not understanding automatically create healing? And this is such a important point, because all we think is reading or listening or understanding the concept, and just having a clear idea of what it is would bring you out of it or would heal you. But there is some action required for it, and um that is something which is always a gap, because a lot of people, they don't understand it. So what is your framework through it, and what would you tell them about it?
yeah. Well, that's great for the mental body, analyzing it and understanding it on the conscious level. But 95% of all of our actions are unconscious, and they operate based on the unconscious mind, which is connected to our beliefs. Again, and if your beliefs are outdated, then you're running the same old patterns and the same behaviors. What I would say to people that think that by reading something they could heal it, there has to be action, like you said. You must take steps into correcting those things. And so, one of the easiest things that you could do is when you have a situation or a negative belief come up, or, you know, negative self talk, to stop and ask yourself, is this really what I believe? Is this really mine? Or is this something that I've inherited? Is this something that someone said when I was little and I took it as true? And then really dissect it and journal about it, and be inquisitive about it. And if that belief is no longer true, let it go. Write down the belief that you want to instill instead, and take action towards that so that your unconscious mind supports you in enabling it. And then also, let's not forget the physical body. The physical body holds in all of our trauma, all of our negative self talk. And so, breath work, for example, is free. There's so many techniques out there that you could do, and it doesn't take much. Just taking 5 minutes a day, doing alternative nostril breathing, Wim Hof breath work, whatever resonates with you, Kundalini yoga breath work, the breath of fire, whichever technique resonates with you, doing it and helping your body clear out um, all that negativity and toxicity.
Thank you for that. Also, we often don't realize how simple breathwork is, but so effectful and so efficient. Also, so many people, as you also mentioned, that our physical body keeps in or it stores all the trauma, all the negative self-talk. And so many people, they ignore their early signs. It might be the tight chest or the heavy mornings that they're having or the constant I'm fine but still not being fine. So when you think of your own path, what was the earliest signal your body gave you that you were not okay, and how did you perceive it at first?
Um, Early signs were, I had a tight jaw. I started using grinding my teeth. My body was very inflamed, and I later learned that I was holding a lot of pressure and like anger in my jaw. So that was my body's way of telling me that I needed to release it. And I also used to have back pain and all of these things. And as soon as I started doing my work, it didn't happen overnight, but it was quite rapid. I would say a month or two. Um, the clenching of the teeth, the jaw, everything cleared out, and so did my back pain.
That is a way it is, sometimes my it does do greater analytics and better understanding of ourselves. And I totally resonate with it because we miss all these hints that our body is giving us, and somehow it leads to something which it has always been hinting upon. And Gabriella, thank you for this beautifully honest conversation with us today. You reminded us that burnout is not the moment that we collapse in, but it's the moment our inner world asks us to pay attention. And to everybody listening, I am Pragya, and I hope this episode helped you notice the parts of yourself you've been moving away from. Until next time, take care of the small truths inside you. They're guiding you home. Signing off for today, this was Divine Decode.